This is James Walker. Welcome to Real Talk, Real People. This is the podcast that turns the mic over to everyday people to hear what they have to say about the issues and problems we face as a society. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. We have a very special person, I think, on the show today. You know, life is about overcoming challenges, and this man has faced some serious challenges. Number one, he grew up in the foster system, and I don't have to tell you what that must be like for someone to grow up in a situation like that. He went on to join the military, spent 17 years in the Army, and when he came out, he faced a lot of obstacles. Like many veterans, he began to exhibit mental health issues. He turned to substance abuse, and he was homeless for quite a while. At any rate, he managed to overcome all of that. And the first thing this man did was start a charity to help other homeless men and women. Let's get him on the show, find out why he did it and how he did it.
So my name is Mark Hammett. Um, about a few months ago, I started something called Socks for the Homeless. Um, and more or less what it was is, I grew up in foster care, and when I aged out at 18, when I found myself homeless, young, wet behind the ears, and just really didn't have any direction. So, I found myself homeless by circumstance just because, I went in front of the judge. The judge says you're an adult and you're released from custody in New Jersey, and you're on your own. So, I didn't know nothing about going to the shelter system or anything like that. I just didn't really know which direction to go. So, um, when I look back, if it wasn't for the relationships that I was in with women, I was homeless. And, I just didn't know how to maintain stable housing and pay bills and budget and wake up and do a 9 to 5. Um, Shortly after that, I entered the military and I wasn't homeless anymore. So, I tried to stay in there as long as I could,
How long were you in the military?
17 years.
How long?
17?
17 years. Wow, that's a long time. So you retired actually then from the military, correct?
Well, actually, I got into an accident where I was medically discharged. So,
Cool.
I found myself in outside of the military, and getting back into society was a tough one for me. Besides dealing with the mental health stuff that I was dealing with, PTSD and stuff that I had been dealing with since I was a kid and never addressed. You know, Number one because I'm a machismo, not asking for help.
Sure.
Number two, not knowing what it was that ailed me. Didn't know that mental health was a thing. You know what I'm saying? Just thought people were either strong or weak. And if you put that create of being strong, nobody knows what's going on inside your mind.
Inside your
Uh,
head, that's correct.
you know,
And,
so
I've done stories on foster kids and them aging out and there not being a lot of help for them. When I was an editor and columnist, I wrote about this. I've had people on the podcast talking about aging out of the foster system. And the last time I looked, I'm almost sure Connecticut had some 4,600 foster kids in the foster system. So you're to be congratulated, man, to come out of a system like that, no matter what it took, because that's a rough thing to get over. So you're to be congratulated and to look back and
you know,
start and start helping people. That's good. So go ahead, I'm listening.
so I remember when I was homeless in New York City. I remember I was had a little box. I was living under the Chrysler Building, one of the vents, right across the street from the Chrysler Building, 43rd, between Lexington and Third, was a church called St. Agnes, and underneath the church was like a drop-in center. You could sleep in a chair overnight, but it was limited. So if you didn't get there by a certain time, you had to sleep outside. So,
Right.
I could go across the street because I was close enough. I could get out, go across the street to the St. Agnes and get a meal. one thing I can say about New York City is that if you're homeless, there's no reason for you to be hungry because there's soup kitchens every borough at all times of the day, and you know what I'm saying. So that was a thing that I had to learn and everything like that. So being out there, there was a little old lady. She was either like Portuguese or Italian, and she used to go around. I used to see her every once in a while, and she would give people socks, clean socks. And she may have 10 pairs with her or something. And she would just give them out. And she wouldn't say much. She would say, "God bless you," and everybody. I needed those socks because when it's cold out there, you either put them on your hands and you put them on your
Sure,
feet or whatever.
sure.
You know. And so I recently celebrated 7 years of sobriety. Right. In
Congratulations.
October. Thank you. October 28th. I completed that, and I felt like something was missing. I felt like in recovery, it's like an apprenticeship, man. And I felt like after 7 years, I became a journeyman. I started checking some boxes and holding myself accountable, and checking some of my maladaptive behaviors. My maladaptive ways of dealing with emotions and anger and stuff,
Right.
and I just felt like now it was time for me to give back a little bit. That's what I felt. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I was like, let me just try this. Social media is a very powerful thing, and I made a TikTok under the conscious addict. Now I called it the conscious addict because most people put things that they don't want in the attic that they still have a connection to. They don't want to get rid of it,
Correct.
so they put it in the attic. And then consciousness, man. Just being conscious of my actions and my decisions. So I put those things together because, man, through my own doing, I put myself in the attic, saying many people's lives because, they tried to help me and I was just, wasn't receptive to the help or,
Right.
just doing things. And, from a childhood to an adulthood, I just had that mentality that nobody understood me, nobody could help me, this, that, the other thing. And found myself very lonely. So, I made the conscious addict and I just say, hey, man, this is, Socks for the Homeless. And people started sending packages, man, to my house, like, hey, what's the address? What's the address? People I actually grew up with in group homes and youth shelters with, and that are adults, women, men, what I'm saying, that like, Mark, what you're doing is outstanding, man. This is cool, man. This is great. We're gonna send some packages. My wife's daughter sent me like 50 pairs of gloves, 50 pair of socks. She got me blankets, and that's the day when you see me in the green. My wife had called me, and because earlier that day I went to the Columbus House and they said, hey, man, they gave me that piece of paper, this purple paper. They said, you got to contact somebody. We don't accept, donations right there
Right.
because COVID. And I said, I thought we were out of COVID, but okay, no problem. I'm just trying to help the next man. So I went home. I was a little bummed out. And, God works in mysterious ways because my wife is like, Bobby, I just delivered some food over by the green in New Haven. See a lot of people out there and it's full. I hopped in my Audi, put the bag in there. And I was like Santa Claus around the green. And, I try to be very respectful because let me tell you, when I was out there and I was homeless, I was I just had an attitude, man. I didn't want nobody to approach me. And when people approached me, I'd snap at them and stuff. So I remembered how I used to be, and I had to keep that in mind. So I'm very respectful when I approach people. Like, hey, how you doing? No disrespect. I just want to see if you need some socks or it's cold out here. I got socks, I got some blankets, I got some gloves, and to my surprise, not really to my surprise, because I know homeless people are good people.
Right.
They were very receptive. What I'm saying? And people were like, hell yeah, man, thanks, man. Like, people shaking my hands, and I don't have no problem shaking another man's hand, even if he's down and out. So for that man to come out his shell, raise his hand, and give it to me, it's a blessing to me, that I was able to do that
And
for
able
them.
to help them. Well,
Yeah,
truthfully, that's how I met you. You approached me, and
yeah,
what you
yeah.
said to me was, "I've got gloves," and I said to you, "Thank you, but I don't need them." And at the
Yeah,
time, I thought you were just out selling gloves, hustling to make a living. And then
yeah,
you approached some homeless people, and you started talking to them. And I listened to what you were saying in your story, and it just changed my whole attitude about seeing you. And if you remember, I ran after you to give
yeah.
you
I
my
remember.
card because I just thought that this was a story that should be shared and that
Right,
people should understand in these times. There's not too much kindness going on, and kindness is in short supply. So I really appreciated what you were doing, and I really wanted to get you on the show and talk about why you're doing this and the experience that you have. How do people um, react to you when you walk up to them, and are they like me, or immediately
Yeah,
suspicious, or are they
yeah.
immediately listening?
Hey, when I was out there and I was homeless, there was a part of time when I was homeless and I dressed sharp. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
had clothes, and didn't have a home, and so I try not to stereotype anybody and I approach anybody. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, hey, it's cold out here. I got some gloves. And if they're receptive, then I go into why I'm doing it. Some people just don't have the time or just don't want to deal with it. So
right,
cool, okay, no problem. And I move on to the next person. A lot of people have been very receptive to it, and that's a blessing, man. Because at the end of the day, what you put out into this world, you get back, and
that's
believe me, I
correct.
know. When I used to be out there doing the stupid shit, I used to get some stupid karma back, and I had to accept it because I put that out there, So nowadays, I try to, I mean, even my son, man, when my son, my 12-year-old son said, Dad, I'm proud of you, man, what you're doing, That to me, I swear that touches my heart in more ways than any because, I didn't have a father that I could make proud or
Right.
what I'm saying,
Yes, I do know what
or
you're
be
saying.
proud of, and so that means so much, man. So this goes full circle. As much as I'm helping people, it helps me, man. It keeps me sane. It keeps me knowing that I'm human. I have feelings. I'm empathic, and even though the shit that I went through, it doesn't define me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
That's correct. It does not.
I used to be in that bubble of being a victim. Like, yeah, I grew up in foster care. I only had one door. Two doors, prison. Or go this way. Nobody paid for my schooling, and nobody did this, and nobody gave, cared about me. Yeah, I could put myself in that bubble, and I fit there. I fit the criteria, right?
Right.
But I choose action, man. Because for so long, I felt comfortable in that struggle. If things weren't hard, it was uncomfortable. So I self sabotaged my own success and stuff, So, at the end of the day, God's been really good and just allowing me to grow. I'm 47 years old, and I continue to do good things just because there's not a lot of people doing it. And I'm not a rich man by no means, I have bills like the next man. But I take a little bit that I got and I keep that change in my change drawer. So if I see somebody at the corner, whether they're going to use it for drugs or not, I know that I gave them the option.
I knew a minister once, and he was very much like you. People asked, he give change and so forth. And I said to him, don't you realize that these people are just using you and they're going to take your money and buy alcohol, drugs, or whatever? And he said to me, that is not my problem. I do what God tells me to do. What they do with what the assistance that I give them is up to them. And you have pretty much said the same thing. And so, on that note, we're going to take a quick break right now, and I just want to remind people that we are talking to Mark Hammett. He is the founder of Socks for the Homeless, and he is talking to us about his life as coming out of the foster system and why he decided to start this charity. Next week, we're going to move into a different direction. We're going to have Chef Raquel from A Pinch of Salt here on the show, and she's going to show people how just a pinch of salt can change a whole meal. Following that, marijuana is big here in Connecticut if you have been watching the news. More than nearly $300 million since they implemented this law. Well, that law actually gives you the right to grow marijuana in your own home. We have some people that's coming in, and we're going to show you how to do it. Finally, I want to remind people to head to Amazon, Google Books, Apple Books, anywhere online where they sell books, and pick up a copy of my life story, Dead Windows, My Long Journey Out of Domestic Violence. This is a story that many of us know about. Many of us grow up in abusive situations. Well, this is my story of how I overcame that. So head to the store, pick up a copy. I would certainly appreciate it. Mark, you've had an extraordinary life so far. You've overcome a lot of challenges and a lot of challenges that are not easy to overcome. So, what's next for you? You've started Socks for the Homeless. You're out there in the streets. You've talked about your wife, who is feeding people, feeding the homeless. What's next for you guys? You're doing wonderful things.
Well, I just, this when I started this, it was just something that I really wanted to just, keep kind of little, just on my own, and I just got such an overwhelming response to it that it's like it made me feel like Mark, there's something to this, it sucks that excuse my language that we have people that are homeless, and especially in Connecticut when it gets cold.
You've been listening to Real Talk, Real People. If you would like to be on the show, if you have an idea for the show, give us a call at 203-605-1859 or drop us an email at realtalkrealpeoplect@gmail.com. You folks have a good week and we'll talk again next week.